Welcome everyone to the Public Works Committee meeting. We'll start by approving the minutes of the previous meeting. Mr. Bruno, Mr. Cressito on the second. The additions, corrections, there being none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the minutes are adopted. Thank you. Kevin, where would you like to begin?
I think we'll start with solid waste and recycling.
Okay, solid waste and recycling.
I will turn that over to Scott. I'll start out. We don't have any action or agenda items or new business. We're just going right into information for discussion.
Yeah, and I might start because it kind of frames the conversation. Now that we're hauling for the towns, we're getting more accurate data. So I just printed out, as you referenced, April 2025. It basically shows the number of hauls we conducted through our hauling, and it shows the materials by transfer station. What I hope to do is start, comparing these, month by month, looking at years, starting to look at trends. But at least it's a start in giving us a more kind of precise idea of how the materials are kind of moving through the county. I've also, for this kind of quick bar chart, I've kind of separated it by materials. There's some further analysis we can do. Like right now, recyclables are all kind of grouped together. It's the green part of the bar chart, but we can get more specific with the type of recyclable in there. And of course, I can also pull the data by the tonnage. We can attach the pricing to these. So I think at least hopefully is going to give us a better idea of where we're at. A lot of the things that I'm, working with Kevin to move forward on require, having an accurate kind of base of where we're at, from applying for grants, from everything. We had started to get some good data, I think, when Superintendent Hadros started the hauling kind of permit. We're starting to get better data, but we had some gaps that we're kind of filling in. So looking at this is giving us kind of a better idea. So far for April, we had 121 hauls, which is pretty consistent with what I think we projected. Obviously, there's fluctuations based on a lot of conditions, so we're starting to get a better idea on that.
Yeah, I was going to add, so currently, I mean, if you average it out for the 5 months, Scott and I were just talking about this yesterday. We kind of average right now in the beginning of the year about 100 trips a month. We expect now, as we get past Memorial Day here, that's going to increase significantly. We had projected, I think, 150, give or take. We may or may not see more. We'll wait to see what happens. And this is something that I'm going to bring to next committee meeting. We had a mechanics position under solid waste, and that mechanics position, it's an odd position because it was a position to repair containers. They didn't work on the vehicles. The vehicles still went next door to our shop to be worked on. But this position was created many years before, I think even before I started. Scott and I were talking about the hauling and having enough people. I mean, right now, the 2.5 guys that I have hauling, they can't take a vacation, because if they do, somebody's not going to get something picked up. So Scott and I have been looking at that mechanics position, knowing that we still need somebody to repair containers for us when the time comes. But we're thinking maybe for the rest of this year that we would change, we would kind of delete that position for now. I would certainly look to bring it back during the budget season, but delete it for now so that we can add another driver to make sure that we're covered for if somebody wants to take a day off or, a week off or a vacation, that we have another person to cover for those hauls. So I want to remind you all, when we had solid waste before we took on this hauling, the 2.5 positions that we have in there right now basically are being covered by the towns and what we're charging for the hauling, which is still keeping the towns cheaper than what they were paying for hauling before. But the mechanic position was not a position that was covered by any type of revenue that was coming in for solid waste. So when I bring it back through budget season, again, it's going to be the same position, not covered by any revenue that's coming in, but certainly the other position that we want to create next month, which would be just another driver. That would most likely, I mean, Scott and I talked about it, there will be an increase next year to the towns. As far as the rate, it still doesn't put that anywhere near the level that they were paying before. So that would cover that one position, and then an auto mechanics position that I would add back in during the budget season would just be to continue the repairs on the equipment that we have.
Do you need a motion on that?
I don't, because I didn't put it in as a resolution. I'm gonna bring it next month, because I had to add and delete a position, so I'll do that next month.
All right. Yeah, no, I think there are gonna be some growing pains here. There has to be. I mean, this is, we're learning as we go along. I mean, even like in Bolton, you know, people wait for those dump cards, and then when they come, there's a little bit of a tsunami at our transfer station, because everybody's into spring cleanup, right? And so we get that wave that comes in, and so we get those kinds of fluctuations. But I think that getting good information like you are, and then we can, later on, we can talk about, you know, how to make things more efficient and standardize things once we have good data. Maybe get all of this to a better place. That was the goal anyway.
Yep.
Now, one other question I have is, the reporting to DEC, are you going to be able to provide that information? How's that going to be handled this year?
So, you know, generally it's the towns have to fill out the annual reports. I kind of broached that at our, we had a meeting, transfer station operators, and, you know, I asked if, you know, we are looking at, we got another smaller grant that can cover a data reporting system called Retrack. We're going to use it for our waste hauler permit system. But I kind of brought up the point, you know, we could probably fold in the data from the transfer stations. I was surprised that transfer station operators generally, it didn't seem like it was a huge burden for them for the annual reports, but I'm open to looking at that as well. So right now they do their own annual
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah, I think we could give some thought to that too, on how to standardize that as well. I mean, we maintain that data, you know, primarily in our clerk's office, because that's where the bills come in. So we get to see the weights, we get to see all of that. But when it comes time to do it, it always seems like, I mean, we get it done, but it always seems like a chore.
I was gonna add in, I mean, there may be something that we can assist all the towns, and not necessarily doing it for each one of the towns, but maybe provide some type of spreadsheet so that every month, and since they're not waiting, I mean, because I know that there's some that do that wait till the end of the year and then try to collect all that information and put it into some report. If we can create some type of tracker, maybe it's this program or something, that it could be put in once a month, what they have, then it may be a little bit easier for the.
Well, the data that they assemble is annualized. It's on an annual basis.
It is.
They break it out by month on the annual
Right.
report too.
They do.
But
So, yeah, that would be most helpful. I think.
it is pretty interesting. It, you know, it's a state form. I can access all those forms, and everyone kind of does it a little different. And
Right.
I
Right.
don't feel like the state gives a lot of feedback
Right, no.
on that.
No, but I think all of us, we take it seriously. It's a report. We have to put our name to it. So we're, you know, we'd like it to be as good and as accurate as it can be. So yeah, okay, so you're plugged in, that's good.
Yeah. And we, you know, this captures the things we pick up. It doesn't capture things like tires are generally contracted out by a separate hauler. Metal generally isn't something we haul. So there's some data not reflected in these numbers for the transfer stations.
But again, I certainly Scott came up with this chart, at least for April. I certainly want to make everybody aware of how it was going. And as Ron, as you said, it's a trial experience this first year. Once we get through this first year, I think we'll be fine.
You should just table off to all the supervisors.
Yes.
So we have it. I'd like to share it with my town board.
Yeah, and in general, I feel like, you know, there's the short term, obviously we have to make sure that the towns are covered, and we can, you know, I feel fortunate that, you know, Superintendent Hajos has a command of the county systems, and if we need to, you know, pull in a substitute driver, we can. So there's the short term, which I feel like we're doing okay. And then obviously we want to be strategic and think about, you know,
Good.
the long term.
Good. Anything else?
I'll let you hit on the rest.
Yeah, so just the things that we've been working on is we were awarded, well, tentatively awarded the food scrap pilot grant. Maybe I was a little naive in how quickly I thought that would move through the state. So we're still working to get the executed contract, which, we have to resubmit our work plan and budget. So it's hard to say, is that just gonna be a quick couple weeks to go through with the state now that we've kind of gotten the tentative award? But I do feel good once we get the green light that, we have the pieces in place to kind of hopefully, once we have the green light, to start accepting food scraps within 3 to 4 months.
Certainly one of those things that until, and most of the supervisors who get state grants are aware of that. I can't start purchasing anything or doing any of that before I have the grant in hand. Otherwise, they won't, even if they've said it's awarded, if I don't have it in hand, they may not honor what we purchased or whatever. So we'll wait to receive it, and then we'll start making our purchases.
And then on the side of recyclables, we had submitted for an EPA grant, which may or may not still be moving forward. But as a working group, we talked about some other ways to move forward to capture some of the value in the recyclables that we have. So as a working group, we decided maybe, okay, let's focus on like cardboard, which is a clean supply that we get at all the transfer stations. Maybe let's look at plastic. And the hope was that maybe at the June DPW that we present just kind of a basic overview of, if we focused on a couple of commodities, started small scale, what the costs and expenses and, revenue might be for that, to just move forward a little bit with capturing some of these commodities that currently we're paying, $90 a ton to dispose of, hopefully in a environmentally responsible way. But that if we can connect with the markets, and use someone like Replenish, that we can maybe actually generate some revenue.
That would be excellent. That would be excellent to see that. And in cardboard, we went from they're paying us to where we are today. I mean, talk about a sea change. It's huge. And you can apply that to any of the recycled metals. You can have almost anything. It's been quite the sea change. Anything else?
The local government efficiency grant.
Oh, yeah, so with the planning department, we applied for a local government efficiency grant. In that grant, it was for a new roll-off truck and for 3 years funding for another driving position. I checked in with planning this week just to see if they had an update on when we would hear anything about that grant. I haven't heard back yet, but I'll keep tabs on that.
Wow, if we were to get that grant, that would really catapult us, I think. I mean, talking about an order of magnitude here that really would make a splash.
Yes. Yep, for solid waste.
Scott, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep going. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott.
So under Public Works, we have a request for a new contract, and this is for preliminary design, right-of-way acquisitions, incidentals, construction inspection and observation for H 439 and H 440, which are the County Route 35 Diamond Point, Smith Brook West and East projects. And this is with CHA Consulting.
Chase.
No, it's Clough Harbor.
Puff Harper, excuse me. Have a motion to bring this forward for consideration. Mr. Strainer, Mr. Bean on the second. All in favor of bringing this forward? Aye. Okay. You have in front of you a proposed new contract.
Yep.
For Clough Harbor for these projects. And the breakdown is also attached. That's nice. Any questions for Mr. Lejos at this stage?
No, I'll just add on, this is one of our federal aid projects, so it's an 80-15-5, so we pay the 5 cents on the dollar, and the feds and the state are paying the rest.
Well, given the numbers, that includes soft costs?
Yes,
That includes soft costs.
yes.
That's good. That's good. All right, then, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of entering into this contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Anything else, Kevin?
That's it.
Any other business to come before the committee? Privilege of the floor, anything to see
Thank
to?
you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, I asked for my ward constituents, the college project on Corinth Road, the signage is fantastic. You responded after with more signage. Is that still on track to finish in September?
It's still on track to finish. They had a little blip with the water line, but that was with the manufacturer of the valve. I know that they've gotten that resolved and everything, but they didn't stop work on the rest of the culvert, so everything's still moving forward. You're welcome.
And did you get back to Jack Diamond on that? He talked to you about that one section of that one road?
I did. So, and actually, I do have one more thing I can talk to. So as you all are aware, we put our bid for our projects out. We awarded the bids for all the pavement work. I believe next week, they'll start on all the projects we had. We expected a lot higher bids in some of those projects. We were pleasantly surprised that they weren't as high as what we expected them to be based on cost that we have seen over the last several years. So with that, we had some savings with money. So as of this week, a new group of projects went out to bid. Mainly, these are overlay type of projects. Specifically, Dix Avenue was going to be an overlay type of project. It is turning into a federal aid project next year, which is going to be a full depth of reconstruction, drainage, new signage, striping, everything else. But it's in poor shape and we have the funding to be able to do an overlay in those areas. And there's other areas that we're going to do the same thing, that eventually in the next couple of years, we'll be doing projects on those. But it provides us, most of the projects we've been doing lately is a reclamation, which is basically breaking up the existing pavement, leaving it in place, rolling it, grading it, and then using that as our base and paving over the top of this. So any pavement that we put down now that is going to act as basically as a base in the next project that comes up for those. So that Dix Avenue will be done. I think we have 13th Lake and Garnet Lake in Johnsburg. I have another portion of Diamond Point Road in Warrensburg, Lake George. I have Horicon Avenue in Bolton. I have Dix Avenue and Corinth Road down in that same area from the culvert down towards West Mountain Road as well. I think that's all of them.
We didn't get Bay Road.
I think there's a Bay Road in there too. I apologize. I'm trying to remember all the. I think there's Bay Road in there as well.
Well, that's good news. That's very good
Yes.
news.
So that'll get us a little bit further on some of the projects for this year.
Yeah, some of those you hate to see them have to go into next year. You can avoid it.
Oh, Mr. Thomas is in here, so I got Harrisburg Road too.
All right, well, thank you for that report. That's excellent.
We don't care about Harrisburg Road.
All right, then, anything else to come before the committee? There being none, motion to adjourn. Mr. Bruno, Mr. Restrainer on the second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.